Guys, today's video is going to be all about postcards. Why I like to buy and sell them. There are lots of reasons, and I'm not even talking about because they're cheap to buy, inexpensive to ship, and to package. No, I'm talking about all the different reasons why collectors buy postcards. I've broken it up into 5 different things that can make postcards quite valuable. I want to tell you about them. I'm going to show you some examples that I have, and then I'm going to take you on to eBay and show you stuff that has sold in each of these categories of value in the last 3 months. Cousins, let's do this. Also, if you end up liking this video, make sure you like it with your finger too. And what I mean is, click the subscribe button and even the little bell icon, because that's the thing that'll let you know every time we drop new videos, which is every week. We've almost got 100 at this point. We also have giveaways almost every other week that are free to enter, and you will want to know how. So without further ado, let's look at some postcards together. Rusty, have you? Alright guys, how you doing here? I want to show you a bunch of postcards and talk about these today. There are 5 different things, major things. There's even more than that, but I'm just going to talk about 5 today. Ways that postcards can be valuable and why people buy them and collect them. The first thing is simply the content or the type of card. That would be the theme of it. What's it about? What's the information on it? That could be strictly the photograph, or it could also be the type of picture postcard. And so, like, what I'm going to start off with here are what we call in the industry real picture postcards. These are postcards that were printed on actual photo paper. They are actual photographs, and they were turned into a postcard. So on the back, they are made into a postcard, a section where you can write to someone and put the address to the person. But on the front, it's an actual photograph. If you hold it a certain way in the light, as you can see that shimmer, that's showing you that this was an actual photograph. In this particular case, it says at the bottom, Great Pono, Kingston, New Hampshire. This is a picture of people, in old bathing suits out in this water here. Some old canoes in the background, some people. Really cool. But you can see that that's an actual photo. It was made the same way that black and white photography is done, with chemicals and the solution in the bath. And in the back you've got this, and you can see it says 1929 up here. These old ones that are of real photos seem to be, time and time again, the kind that sell for the most amount of money. And the reason is that a lot of these were made by people who, first of all, had the money to make them, so there weren't as many made because there weren't rich people back then all that often. But also, when they made them in very, very tiny quantities, maybe just a handful at a time. And so when you come across things that are of very interesting time periods, places, maybe buildings that are no longer there, or natural disasters, or things where you may be the only one that has that card anymore, and that's why they're valuable. This one right here is also one that says Jerry and Edith's, 269 Main Street, Buzzards Bay, Massachusetts, on Route 28. This one was never actually used, but you can see it was set up there as a postcard. A couple of more examples here for you. A bullfight. This is in Barcelona. It says, someone wrote this actually in an ink pen. But again, if I kind of turn this to the side, you can kind of see with the light, it makes it shimmer a little bit. This is an actual photograph. Look at all those old hats that those men and women are wearing. And there's the matador right there, and the bulls. Again, another postcard that hasn't been used. This is a really cool one here. I got it in a protective sleeve. I'll take that out. You can see this again, that shimmer. This is an actual photo. This one is really cool. It's of an old building. A woman there in the background. You can kind of see my camera's kind of having a struggle in there, but she's got an old dress on. This is a horse and buggy, and the coolest thing is right here in the corner. I don't know if you can see that, but it's an advertisement that says Post Toasties, delicious with cream. So, people were riding in buggies and they were eating their Post Toasties back in the day. Again, that's set up as a postcard. A few more examples. This one says French Delegation, 11-19-19. So, 1919. These men with big old beards and big old coats and hats. Such a cool little thing. Last couple are really interesting. This says KT Los Angeles, June 17th, 1916. And this is, again, a real photograph. And clearly someone was on a float here in some kind of a parade. You've got women here. You've also got children in dresses sitting on what appear to be ostriches or possibly emus there on this float. They got lights all lit up all around. What a cool looking card. This last one, my favorite of the ones I'm showing you. Again, a real photograph here on photo paper. It's a black and white photo of just a still life of fruit. Okay, kind of interesting, but maybe I don't have your attention yet. But at the bottom, this is what it says. Fruit preserved by Mrs. Grant in 1863 at the Grant home in Galena, Illinois. Grant, well, who was that talking about? Why, it's talking about Ulysses S. Grant, one of our presidents. It's his wife, and these are, fruits that she had made and it was preserved at their home. And this is in 1863. This is a super old postcard. This photograph was taken a lot longer, before this was actually made into a postcard. But I may be holding the only one of these that exists anymore. And someone who collects things from Grant or just likes these real picture postcards might be really interested in this. So that's an example of these types of postcards, and also to show you some of the pictures and some of these old-time scenes that people might be interested in. That's number one. Number two, the second type of thing that people collect postcards for are the artwork. That's right. Sometimes they're actual photographs, sometimes they're people, sometimes they're scenes, and other times it's just strictly artwork, drawings, hand-tinted things, paintings, or sketches, cartoons, that sort of stuff. And what you want to look for on these is an artist's signature. In this case, the artist's signature is right here. It says Donald McGill. It says, I wasn't a-going to pay in advance, mister. I was counting my money before I took the gas. Don't really know what that means, but somebody thought that was funny. And here you see it's Franklin, Indiana, and it says 1934 on that. Here's another example of a cartoon type figure. It says D. Tempest in the bottom there. Here's one, kind of an Art Nouveau look, or look Victorian woman here in a dress. This one right here, I can't exactly make out, it's in cursive, but there's the artist signatures right there. Waskow, possibly. Here's one, Archie Gunn. Again, it's another one of these just kind of sketches, the artwork. Usually down towards the bottom or up around the sides is where you're going to see. Sometimes it's really tiny and hard to make out. Other times it's quite large. Here's another one. Cheer up. What if you're lost in the woods? Better be a bird in the bush than two in the cage. This is a Raphael Tuck & Sons manufacturer, the printing company. But DWIG, that's the artist mark right there of the person who made that. Then there's some others that are highly collectible. I'm just going to show you a couple examples of really nice pieces of artwork, well-preserved postcards. This one's by someone named Ellen Clapsaddle, and you can see her signature is right here. Very faint. If you were not familiar with looking for the artists or postcards like this, you would not even notice that. And it would be to your detriment because Ellen Clapsaddle is an artist who's quite highly collectible. So that's one. Here's some by an artist named Francis Brundage, and these are just gorgeous. They're embossed, as you can see. That means that they've been pressed down. There's you can feel it. There's texture on this. I don't know if you can see from the angle there like that, but right here it says Francis Brundage is his name. Here's a couple of different ones. These are from January, like New Year's cards, greeting cards, embossed again right here on the left, Francis Brundage, and then right here is the one for Thanksgiving greetings. Francis Brundage there again. Beautiful cards. The artwork, quite nice. These kinds of things, another artist to look for is someone named Samuel Schmucker. And a lot of his cards were not actually signed, but they were done by the Winch Company. And mostly the ones that sell for the most, I guess, would be the Halloween cards. Same for Clapsaddle. I'll show you those in just a moment. All right, we have covered the content of a postcard. We've talked about the artwork on a postcard, 2 different reasons why people like them. And the third, I would say, would be the actual information that is written on the card. This, I'm going to show you the outside of these. In my opinion, the card pictures and the images are pretty interesting on these as well. But the notes sometimes can add a lot of value if they are written by someone who is important or famous. If the note themselves talks about an important time in history, if they come from a certain spot, if just the information is interesting in and of itself, they can be highly collectible. Here's one of some people on a boat, and it's from 1916, it says, and this is what it says: "A happy Easter to you, my dear Edna. How do we look? Your Aunt Mary snapped us. Mr. and Mrs. Beck started for home yesterday morning, and we will miss them very much, but hope to see them again next winter." So, you know, who was it that they said? I guess it was Aunt Mary is the one that snapped this photo. And so this is a cute little note from somebody back home to some family, but shows them right there out having a good old time on a lake, looks like. Here's another one right here. This, as you can see, looks like a car, an old car. It says drive-through tree at Underwood Park on Redwood Highway. That's, of course, in California, where the giant redwood trees, which are quite impressive. It says, "I rode a bucking bronco. If you don't believe it, I'll show you a picture when I get home. I'm having a good time." And so, you know, this is talking about something completely different, but isn't that funny? Riding a bucking bronco. You know, I really wish I could see that photo too. But this is going to Akron, Ohio back in 1950. It came from Red Bluff, California. That's a neat one. Sometimes it's not even the note itself, but maybe it has something printed on it. This one is from a ghost town. This is one of those real photo postcards you talked about a minute ago. Ghost town or bust. Sitting on these old cattle. It looks like a husband and wife having a good time, but on the back, it's printed. It says, "Ghost Town Picture Gallery," and it shows the P.O. Box at Knott's Berry Place in, it looks like maybe, is that Buena Park? I can't quite tell. It's a little bit messed up. But you know what? This is probably not even around anymore. I haven't researched it, but this is probably an old ghost town. It was like an attraction that's no longer there. If it's a place that's no longer around, or maybe somebody went to this place when they were a kid and had great memories, and then they come across this and they think, you know what, I want that because it helps them relive their childhood or something in the past. People, I'll tell you right now that most of these types of collectibles, they're serving some sort of purpose. They're looking back in time. It's reminiscing, and it's an emotional thing for them. And so they see these. It gives them a tangible way, like a real physical, present way of looking back and enjoying an old memory. And so that's what these serve. So if you find the thing that person's interested in, you know, they can pay a lot of money for that. That's the third thing. Notes. The fourth thing we're going to be talking about is actually the stamp itself. I've got a couple of examples here of common but could be interesting stamps. Right here we've got this is a postcard of a ship, as you can see, with it looks like the captain's image is right there. On the back here, you'll see this stamp says 1 penny. It's from Gibraltar. That's kind of an interesting place. 1909. This is a postcard sent from Gibraltar. And, you know, people who want to collect rare stamps or stamps from foreign places that not a lot of people lived at or have been to, that's one possible thing. We've got here, looks like an old picture postcard, Point of Pins in Michigan. And this is from 1927. We got an old Washington red stamp there. I don't exactly know what the Scott number for that is, the catalog of these old stamps. But another one that I see commonly is this one of old Ben Franklin here. These green and red ones. These particularly might not be that rare, but ones that look like this, if they have a certain number of perforations on the side, if maybe they got a slick side on one side that's a rare type, philately, that the people who study stamp collecting, they have these books and they look for specific things. And so even though it might be stuck on the back of a postcard, it does not matter. A lot of times it will be just as valuable and just as hard to get. Look at this. This is back when it was so long ago that people didn't even have to write the actual address. Just send it to Ray Bailey in Beaver Dam, Wisconsin. And the post office just knows who old Ray is. They don't even need to know the address. It's so cool to see this piece of history. So I would take a look when you have these postcards, even if it's not that interesting of a particular theme, or maybe the picture's not all that interesting. Take it over on the other side and take a look at the stamps. Look those up, because there may be a buyer for them for just that reason. And the fifth and final thing we're going to talk about today, as a reason why people might like to buy or collect certain postcards, again, it's not the actual information on the card, but it's the cancellation. The cancellation is the thing that the post office does to put an ink stamp typically, or a line or something over the stamp, so that it knows it's been used, so that people don't try to take off the stamp and reaffix it to something and use it again. It cancels the stamp so that it's no longer useful to be used for postage. And so the cancellations themselves can be collectible depending on what they are. Some things people collect are, well, I'll just go through these and show you. So here's one from, it says the specific area, Bighorn, 1950 in Wyoming. There may be somebody out there who wants to collect postcards that have cancellations from all the different cities in their state, and maybe they're from Wyoming. That happens. People out there are looking for ones of towns that maybe the town just died out, doesn't exist anymore, and so they're not making any more cancellations. That could be one thing. Moving over to this one. This is an interesting cancellation, because it says deepest down ranch in the world. It says Grand Canyon National Park, Arizona. So if you look at this card itself, again, it's one of these picture postcards. On the bottom, somebody wrote, "We rode across this bridge," and you can see that little bridge down there at the very bottom of the Colorado River. They talk about it here. This is the Colorado River, blah, blah, blah. They talk about it. It's super cool. But then the cancellation itself in this stamp talks about that exact place. This is Arizona, 1940. Some people might collect stuff specifically from the areas around the Grand Canyon, which is a big tourist area. Here's another one, interesting cancellation. It's the American flag here with colony states, the stars there. This is from 1908. There's that type of stamp again. This is an old one again, because there's no address. Here's one, Portland, Oregon, the Centennial, 1851 and 1951. Maybe people are out there wanting to get all these different types of centennials or bicentennial cancellations. That's possible. Here's one that just says Station G. A lot of people don't realize this, but back in the day, back in the early 1900s, late 1800s, there were different places that they canceled these. And sometimes they had an actual, out at railroad stations they canceled them, or even on the railroad cars themselves. They'd load these postcards or mail onto the train car, and then as the train car was in transit, they would be canceling out the mail before they delivered it to certain stations. So this one made it to Station G someplace, and Station G had its own cancellation to cancel the postage on this postcard. This is a very old postcard. You can see it's not divided, and that's actually one of the ways that you can determine the age of a postcard. Here's two as examples. I won't really get into this today, but you can see there's a line here to separate the note from the address, whereas this one, there is no division here. So this one's older. And also the space below where people could write. That was very common for people to write on the front of the card, actually, about what they were doing or where they were. This one particularly is from the Cuyahoga River, from the viaduct in Cleveland, Ohio. 08, so 1908. Mail this early for Christmas. Perry's Victory Centennial. Put in Bay, Ohio. So there's guys, there's all kinds of different ones. Pray for peace. Well, we sure do, don't we? So that is the fifth and final one that I want to tell you about, the cancellation. So when you get postcards, guys, check the content. What's the theme and the information? Is it interesting? Do you see people buying postcards with that content on eBay? Number two is the artwork. Is it interesting? Is it timely? Is it done by a particular artist? Is it signed by that artist? Check that out. Read the note on the back if you can read it. I know a lot of that old script is hard, but read those old notes. They are so fascinating, and it's going to take you just an awesome window into the past of the lives of people, our ancestors, our other cousins from way back. The fourth thing is the stamp. What does the stamp look like? Is the stamp rare? Is it hard to find? Take a look, research that. And finally, Does it have a really cool cancellation? Is it done at a railroad station that's no longer in operation? Is it done at a post office that is no longer open? People collect all those things. So consider buying and selling old postcards, guys. Here's one, Flying Cutlets. Picture postcard of a guy getting ready to rope some cattle. The Grand Canyon, a street scene by the water, the Skyway to Timberline. These are so cool. This is an old arena in St. Louis. It's the old hockey arena, as I believe, and the Watergate Inn. Wonder what the Watergate was popular for. There's all kinds of cool content, guys, things that people want to buy. People look out for them because oftentimes they're cheap to package, easy to package, and they're cheap to ship. If you haven't checked it out yet, we've got another video that talks a little bit more about postcards that you can see right here. Also, we've got one that will tell you in under a minute how to ship a postcard for as little as $1. Thanks, cousins. Hope to see you again soon. I wanted to show you first off some things that have sold, some postcards that have sold that fit into the first category, the picture or the purpose of the card. I've looked up postcards RPPC. RPPC stands for Real Picture Postcard. First off, we've got one for the Indians and the Shelby Blues, a pro football team from 1908 to 1913, $9,500. That's unreal. Here's one from Japan, Yokohama, 1940s and 50s. That one, they took us a better offer on that, but still, at $2,500, someone was interested. You go down here, here's a unique picture in 1914 Juarez of Pancho Villa. Oh, well, look at this. 1,600 postcards that include RPPC. Let's just click on that because guess who sold this one? Let's take a look. Yours truly, Rusty Bargain Warehouse. That's interesting. I guess, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I sold the 5th highest value in this category in the last 90 days. Okay, so moving on. RPPC, Dancing Gardens, Frank Lloyd Wright. It's a house by Frank Lloyd Wright. $885. And the list goes on, guys. We get down here into some of these groupings of postcards, but single postcards, hundreds of dollars that are real pictures. This one's in Greenwich Village in New York City. Jesse Tarbox Beals. I don't know who that is, but that's maybe a particular photographer. Here's another one, Logging Horses, Dragon Lumber, $601, 14 bids. Here's one that they say is a nude one here. Here's one, looks like an old scene of an old kind of ghost town type place, $500. You get the picture, guys. Some of these can sell for loads of money. So if you have one that's a real picture postcard, check it out and see what you might be able to get for it. Here we got another one. This is number 2, the artwork. So what types of postcards sell because of the artwork itself or because of the artist? Well, here's some that have sold by Alphonse Mucha, who is he was a Czech artist, very popular, one of the most popular Art Nouveau artists that was out there. You'll probably recognize this style. It's been on a lot of posters and things you've probably seen. Hundreds of dollars for these. And this is just kind of, if I look up the words postcard and artist. But if I look up postcard and certain artists that I particularly know about already, like Clapsaddle, Ellen Clapsaddle, like one I showed you, look at this. $310, $158, $150. A lot of the Halloween ones from the early 1900s that were signed by Ellen Clapsaddle sell for loads of money. Here's another one that's by her, a bunch of angels. This looks like Christmas ones. Here's some Valentines, $100, $80-some, $87 just for one. Look at this, and we got lots of bidders, 19 bids, 17 bids, 12 bids. So let's look at another one. Another one of my favorites is a guy named Samuel Schmucker. Again, his Halloween ones go for quite a bit of money. Here's some grouping of Halloween cards, some ones of Santa Claus in blue and some other colors other than red that can be quite collectible. But if I slide down here, I guarantee we're going to find some Halloween ones from high dollar. Yep, $135, $129, $121. I sold a lot of, I think it was around, it was at least 80-some Schmucker heavily schmucker postcards that were Halloween and other things. I sold 80 to 100 of those in one lot for right around, it was between $2,800 and $3,000 last year. For postcards, people. So artists are important. Do your research because you might have something that's worth a lot. In the third category here, cousins, we've got the note. Okay, the information that's actually written on the postcard. Are people buying these because of the notes? Postcard and note and sketch, $350 for that one right here. This one says it's a doctor's note on that one on the back of the postcard, $152. This is of a certain street view that they talk about on the back. Here's one that's recovered from the Panama steamer finance. How do they know that? Well, because they wrote it on there. Billy Burke signed postcard. I don't know personally. The Wizard of Oz. There's something about the Wizard of Oz here. How would they know that? Well, they had to read it to know. So, guys, you want to make sure you look on the back of these postcards and read the notes that are on them, because sometimes that could make an otherwise, kind of boring or uninteresting postcard quite interesting because of the things that are written on it. I've sold multiple ones over the years that it was either signed by somebody semi-famous or famous, or the note itself was interesting. In category number 4, we have the stamp. You might think that because the stamp's already been used, it's not valuable, but you'd be wrong. Look at this, rare green line 1-cent stamp, $1,700 for one stamp that's already been used, canceled, and is on a postcard. Do you see this line here at the top? I guess that's rare. It's $1,700 rare, apparently, on eBay here. This is one from Poland. It's a censored postcard of some kind. They've got a certificate with that one. A rare Palestine postcard and stamp here, 1937. Moving on down, here's one. Something about the perforation on this, the insignia on this one was $384. A rare German 1908. Right here, $300 on that. This one came from British East Africa in 1921, $276 and 10 bids. Korea. This one's in Yiddish. I mean, it goes on, folks. A lot of these in Japan and China, Hong Kong, back around early 1900s can be quite valuable. Here's one of the Hindenburg, or a Zeppelin right here. Not the Hindenburg, but 1930. $200, 27 bids because of the postcard stamp, not because of the card necessarily itself. So if the card's not that interesting, guys, turn it over. Take a look at the stamp. Do your research, because stamp collecting is one of the oldest. They've been collecting stamps since stamps have been made. So 150 years plus, people have been collecting these things, and they're not going to stop anytime soon. Cousins, the fifth and final category here is the card cancellation. So here we are, postcard cancellations in the last 90 days. Here's one for $510. It's one from, looks like to Austria, and it's got these particular type of ship cancellations on them that apparently are quite rare. Here's one, a 1907 railway cancel. So again, this was on a railroad or at a railroad station. The cancellation is quite rare, $360 for that one. Switzerland postcard one, $365, 23 bids on this. Here's one from President Taft. Inaugural March 1909 blizzard cancellation. It's a specific type of cancellation that someone paid $285 almost for that. And guys, it goes on and on. Here's one, an RPO. That's what you look for when it says RPO. That is a cancellation that happened on a railroad cancellation there. This is an old postcard that's already a pre-posted one. You can see there with the Abe Lincoln ink, kind of already printed on that one. Moving on, I just want to give you a couple more examples. Italian post office in Peking. We've got some cancellations that are someone really wanted. Here's one from Gettysburg, 1913. It's the 50th anniversary cancel. So, guys, there's all kinds of different ones and ones that people collect. So, in summary, guys, make sure you're checking the content, the artwork, then read the note on there, look at the stamp, and see how it was canceled, because all of those could potentially make your postcard worth quite a bit. Rusty hair.